We are ready to start. I'm excited. So I'm going to share my screen, and Marcia and I are going to start chatting about assessments in the hybrid world, assessments for when you have snow days. Um, Hopefully in the future we get real snow days back. Sounds like a pleasure. Okay. All right. So we are super excited you're joining us today. I'm Liz Gallo. I'm the CEO of Winemaker. And my partner in crime today is Marcia. Marcia, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, and I am acting today as an associate professor and program director from Hofstra University. We are really delighted to provide this information to you. Certainly couldn't be more timely.
Yeah, I'm going to drop a link in the chat that has the guide for today's session. I don't like giving out the slides because the slides are boring. The guide is where all the goodies are. There's links and resources and articles and examples. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat. Make sure you click that so you get all the information for today's session. We're also going to try to do a hands-on activity since we have time. We're going to need a sheet of paper. And if you have a scissor, great. If not, don't worry about it. We could do it without a scissor. But that'll be later. Okay. So we are going to start this workshop with a poll everywhere question. Three questions, actually. The poll everywhere is an awesome tool that we love using to break the ice, get to know who's in our space, get to know what everyone's thinking, a little pre-assessment. So I'm dropping the link for the poll everywhere in the chat. Click on that and you can join me in poll everywhere to answer 3 questions.
And just as a postscript, poll everywhere is a great as an assessment tool at the end of a class as a closure or as a medial closure to make sure the kids got it. Mm-hmm. In terms of assessment in the hybrid world.
So head to that second link, poll everywhere, and you're going to answer 3 questions that are there. The first question is, what subject do you teach and what grades? So we have repair, culinary, theater, graphic, CFM, engineering, technical, production, architecture, veterinary, software. We have 9th through 12th graders. Beautiful. Drafting, science, dentistry. Beautiful. So poll everywhere gives us this beautiful word cloud. That's one option for our poll everywhere and the way the results are displayed. I like using it because I think it's pretty. And the word that we write the most becomes larger and larger. So everyone wrote 9th through 12th grade. So that's the biggest word that we're seeing there. You guys teach a variety of things. I love it. Marine, media, hospitality, nursing. Beautiful. Okay, next question. What is the most difficult part of assessing right now? What is the most difficult part of assessing right now? You can upvote these answers. So someone will start by typing an answer. And if you agree with that answer, you can upvote it and say, yep, I agree with that. That's a problem I'm having too. Well, those are the 3 biggest ones. Not enough time, not being in person, and no hands-on. Hands-on labs. Yeah.
I love not seeing their faces.
Yeah, I don't see anyone's face on this. I see John's and Marsha's and no one else's. Lead by example. There we go. Thank you, Amelia. Look at your shiny face this morning. Thank you, Daniela. All right. Thank you, Laura. There we go. Lisa, thank you. Durrani, thank you. All right. So struggles we're having, which are immense. So we're having struggles with that hands-on piece, right? So how do we do hands-on assessment or hands-on instruction when we're fully remote? And then I saw something about the in-person certification requirements. How do we meet that when we're doing hands-on? And Marsha and I don't have all the answers for you, but we have some ideas that can potentially help you see what students are capable of doing and what they know, even if we're remote. All right, and our next question. So we are going to review 3 tools today. I want to know which of these tools are you most interested in learning about. So we have ThingLink, which are interactive posters. We have Padlet, which is like an interactive bulletin board. And we have Flipgrid, which is like video recordings. Which one are you most interested in learning about? All right, so ThingLink, followed by Flipgrid, followed by Padlet. Tiffany, we're going to learn all about all 3 of them. So by the end of this, you'll know what they are.
I also wanted to mention that the Poll Everywhere, there are 3 different options that we've used just in the last 5 minutes for responses. So one of them was a cloud. One of them was one where you upvote. And this third one is a bar graph. So, you know, there are several options in Poll Everywhere that are helpful in terms of assessing student learning. And Liz just demonstrated 3 of the options in terms of responses.
Yep. All right. What else do we know about Poll Everywhere, Marsha?
You can create them beforehand, or you can create them on the spot. They're also, I believe, only 30 polls can you create before they start charging you. Otherwise, it's free. So just a little bit of a hint, just delete some and you never get to the 30. So after you use the Poll Everywhere, 5 of them, 6 of them, delete a few, and then you never get to the 30 and have to pay for it.
Yeah, and they also have this great duplicate feature where you can duplicate polls. So like period 1 can have one poll, period 2 can have another poll, but it's the same one and you don't have to keep recreating it.
Right. And you can also compare the results from one period to another. So you can create almost a contest, if you will, you know, which class is doing best, which one knows the most material, or which ideas are the most popular across the several classes.
Yeah, and you can be self-reflective about it. What did I do during period 1 that I didn't do during period 2? My period 1 results were more successful than my period 2 results. So yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so super Poll Everywhere is great. We love it. We use it all the time.
So we're going to be talking about assessments, obviously, today, but they can be used for a lot of the assessments, types of assessments that we really need to do. Formative assessments are those that when you assess kids as they go along. So step 1, step 2, step 3, you don't want to wait for a summative assessment, which is the end of it, the end game, to be able to know that they don't know how to do it in between. So Formative assessments are really critical as they go along. I use the example of um, a ceramics class. You know, that you teach along the way how to center the clay, all of those things. And if taking it out of the kiln the last time they break it, and there are shards of clay on the floor, that's the summative assessment. Do you think that kid should get a 0? I don't think so. But if I haven't assessed along the way, in other words, assess that they can center the clay, assess that they can build the wall, assess that they know how to sand or whatever, those are the formatives. And the summative is obviously the end product. Performance tasks. In CTE, we ask kids to do things, and it relates back to what you're having difficulty with. You know, it's so relevant that we're not seeing them, and so it's difficult to assess their performance. Authentic experiences, having kids collaborate and work together, things that we would normally do all the time become more difficult in terms of virtual learning. So authentic experiences, self-assessment. This is a really powerful tool, and one that I think kids need to be able to do. And if you think about what Colin said this morning, kids need to be able to reflect on whether or not they did a good job, how they did it, what they could do better. The essential skills, those things that are in your your employability profile, those skills we need to ensure that the kids do. And then project problem-based learning, that's another thing where we can, you know, in terms of the collaboration and sharing of the material, that you can assess kids. And the tools that we're going to concentrate on can be used for all of these types of assessments.
So why do we assess our students, right? We have to give them that certification, or we have to get them prepared for that certification exam. But why do we assess our students as a teacher? As a teacher, it helps us. It helps us understand our students. Where are they struggling? What are they great at? What are they taking in? What's still not clicking? It helps us understand who they are as learners and how we can reach them better. It informs us. It informs us what our students have learned and what they haven't learned, right? It tells us what's still missing. What do we need to redo or recheck in with? It helps us collect data. So to find out what we taught that went well and what we taught that didn't go well. So if a portion of my students are missing this part of the assessment, or they're getting this wrong, or they're not filling this out completely, what did I do as a teacher that made that happen? What didn't I do as a teacher that made them unable to fill that out completely?
That's the self-reflection that we were talking about, self-assessment, not only for kids, but for us as well.
Right. Yeah. And then all of our assessments should be linked to our learning objectives, so that we ensure we're assessing what we're teaching, and we're teaching what we're assessing. So if I have an objective for a lesson, my assessment should be directly linked to that objective. When I write lesson plans, I put the objective, and then right next to it, I put the assessment, so I can remind myself that they're linked. So we can put this in the chat. So I want to know, what assessments are you using? What assessments are you currently using? Marsha, do you want to go to breakout rooms?
I think maybe just do it in the chat room, because
okay,
I want you to be able to spend what do you think?
Sure. So my first question for you is, in the chat, what assessments are you using? What assessments are you using now that's working or not working? What are you using? Google Slides, Kahoot, essays, which kids hate, check-in surveys, Google Forms, Play-Doh, Kahoot, Nearpod, interactive websites. Daniela, how are you doing your KWL charts? Miro, I love
Hi,
it.
yes, I actually use Jamboard, and I integrate the KWL with the Jamboard itself. Or I also use the tool that you just mentioned. My principal, she bought a license the other day, Padlet. So I know you can actually, I was watching a video, you can do KWL with the Padlet itself by using columns. So
columns.
yes, how is that gonna work out?
Yeah, cool. We'll show you Padlet in a little bit. So yeah, all these people that are doing PBL, how are you assessing? How are you doing that? Mauricio, Ira.
Actually, my next session in the next hour is on problem-based learning.
Uh-huh. All right, good stuff, people. So Ira breaks down the project-based learning into smaller activities that lead up to a Google Slides presentation from a sketchbook portfolio piece. I love that.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Hi,
Yes.
Mauricio.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I was having my microphone wasn't fully connected. Okay, so my program is by excellence I call it phenomenon-based learning. I like the Finnish term, and so there's a lot of assessment, with student presentations, and so the students need to develop a slideshow, and then they have to record their presentation, and then I have peer review where students review each other's videos. They give each other feedback. There's a form on Google Forms where they fill out a sort of rubric that's based on the regional science fair, and then they also create a written report that has multiple drafts along the year, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some ways that folks are assessed. Oh, we also do self-assessments. I'm really big on self-assessments, and I have about a 40-point self-assessment that goes each marking period, and so the students will fill that out at the end of each marking period to give me feedback on, because this is long term. Their projects could last about 2 years. It's about a good it's a good amount of self-assessment. My average student will self-assess about what is this, 6 marking periods, so 12 times in the 12 years. Sorry, awesome. 12 times in the 2 years. Yeah.
Anthony, I'm interested in hearing about your tutorials. How are you using tutorials in terms of assessment?
What I do is I create the tutorials and I show them step by step how to write a program or how to put blocks of material together. And then in the tutorials, I stop and I have questions in which are like, what if I, like, for example, if I'm putting information into a list and the command is a list, to insert into a list, I would say, change your program to incorporate this other feature. How would it change the logic? How would it change the outcome? And therefore, I have them going through the tutorial steps and then thinking what they can do to modify and make a program better. So therefore, when I give them the activity, they have the option to be able to look at the tutorial, see different ways of getting the same answer and results, because in computer science, obviously there are no right or wrong answers. It's just how you set the path of the program to run and produce the proper answer. So therefore,
So right here, I have a card titled Use, Modify, Create. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're having the kids use your programming, modify it to make it their own, and then ultimately creating their own products. So I love
Correct.
it. That's such a great strategy. Nice. Awesome. So you guys you're doing it. You're doing some great real world assessments of their learning, of their work, of their knowledge, of their growth, and self-assessments, peer assessments, long-term assessments. And I think that's so important for our kids to develop great life skills that will carry with them throughout their experience and their roles. So you shared the answers to all these questions already. All right, so our first tool that we are going to talk about, and I'm going to show you and demonstrate for you, is Flipgrid. Let me know if you've used Flipgrid. You can give me a thumbs up on the reactions button. Let me know if you use Flipgrid. Let me know if you have any thoughts about Flipgrid. But I am going to take us over to Flipgrid, and I'm going to show you how to use it. So when you get logged into Flipgrid, there are two different ways you could do it. You can create a group, which is almost like creating like a class, or a topic. And a topic is an individual story. So today we're going to create a topic. We're going to add a topic, and we're going to do something silly but really important. We're going to ask our students to test the smoke detectors in their house. And do some math around testing the smoke detectors, testing and changing the batteries. So when we open up our Flipgrid, it asks us to create a new topic, and the title of our topic is Testing Your Smoke Detectors. And then in the prompt, those are the instructions that we're going to give our students. So I'm going to grab my instructions and put them in here. I'm going to tell my students what to do. So watch a video on how to test your smoke detectors, which I'll drop in later. Go around your house, test each smoke detector, change the batteries on the ones that need to be changed, create a video of you testing the batteries. What percentage of smoke detectors did you change the batteries for? How did you calculate that? How many smoke detectors do you have in your house, and how many batteries did you change? So we're connecting to the math and the academic integration here without kids even knowing it. So that's a really helpful tool. So I can add media to my Flipgrid, which is videos, YouTube. I can upload a doc. I can add emojis, all these interesting things. Today, I'm going to add a YouTube video. These things all got so much smaller. I'm going to grab the link to my YouTube video and just drop it right here. And this is the video I want. Yes, smoke alarm testing and maintenance. I'm going to click add, and it's going to add into my topic. Then as I scroll down, it asks for permission. Do I want it private? Send emails, upload the kids' emails addresses. Do I want it public? What do I want to do here? So lots of options there for you, whatever works for you in your school. I'm going to make mine public right now. It's just 3 seconds easier. Do I want to moderate the topic as the teacher? Do I want to moderate the topic? So do I want to check every video before it gets posted and all the comments? How long do I want the video to be? Do I want it to be 30 seconds? So I only have to watch 30 seconds of kids' videos. Do I want it to be 10 minutes? You can choose. And then what do I want? Do I want other students to respond to each other using videos and text comments, video comments only, text comments only, or none, and closed captioning? And then if we click more options, there's more details here. You can add like a rubric, you could add more instructions, you can add a portfolio. You can attach anything here. You can make it active and set a date that you want it to be active on, and then close it. So no more submissions after this date, which is helpful. You can respond to your notifications. How many emails do you want to get about kids uploading Flipgrids? And then what can kids do? Can kids add a cover image? Can they attach something? Can they like each other's work? Can they edit their videos? Can they add notes to it? Can they download and share? Or can you download and share? Not that can, no, they can students download and share their videos. So you can turn that on and off. So, and then feedback. What kind of feedback do you want to give to your students on their videos? Do you want to provide basic feedback, or do you want to provide customized feedback? And when you do customized feedback, you can add criteria for your rubric. So it's pretty powerful stuff. You create a topic, and once you create the topic, you will get options to send it to Google Classroom or the Reminds app or Teams. You click right here in the Google Classroom, and it's going to pop up saying add to what class, and you post it right to your Google Classroom. And then once your students complete stuff, their responses will go down here. So you'll see their videos start popping up with their answers, and kids will just click record a response on the link and record their response. So Flipgrid's pretty powerful. There's a lot of great stuff we can do with it. I don't have an example up right now. I apologize.
But what's interesting in terms of the Flipgrid, if you go back to the slide before, in terms of creating a video, kids can do this with, you know, their sisters and brothers, with friends, with parents. They are actually creating a video of doing it, and there's the power of the assessment, that you're actually seeing them do it, which mirrors hands-on instruction in the classroom.
Yep. So I was just thinking about all the subjects you teach, right? And I'm sure, like, for a vet, like, we can't be asking our kids to do veterinary work on their animals in their apartments, but we could ask them to do it on a stuffed animal and demonstrate and record a video, right? We can do some mechanic work on a bike, maybe, that we have, or we can explore the pipes under our sink to see how they work. You know, we can take a video of us doing things around our home that are related to what, you know, we would be typically doing in our class. Although
And
it's not
certainly
perfect.
culinary, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for doing that as well. And actually in any CTE area.
Yeah. So think outside the box. You got this. So that's Flipgrid. What are some types of projects you think you can assess using video recordings and Flipgrid in your class?
Anthony said you can't have anything with dental lab. You might be able to if they have some of the material that they've collected, or even an input. You know, what questions would you ask of a client or a patient before you created a plan for treatment, a treatment plan. Blah, 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 that didn't come out so fast.
Or even those essential skills, right? So pretend that a member of your household just came to your office and has this specific complaint. Take a video of yourself, like, doing the, like, intake survey, right? And, like, taking care of that patient.
Well, as dental technicians, we are not licensed to work in the mouth. We only build the dentures and other prosthetic appliances that goes in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So that aspect of it, we're not really licensed to do.
Okay.
So it's difficult to find. I mean, I use videos from YouTube and so forth, but it's not the same as actually having hands-on skills.
There are some schools that I'm familiar with and I've worked with where they create, like giving them a kit, if you will, and the students come and pick it up, and then they use that kit at home. So you could actually create a kit of things that they could do at home and then show videos of themselves doing it.
I'm also thinking, could they use like clay or Play-Doh, or make clay or Play-Doh and create a mouth mold, like not in their mouth, but like recreate the teeth out of clay, or do it out of paper.
That's possible for some aspect when we come to crown and bridge work, where they have to. I have them sketching the various teeth, so they have to
Cool.
know how how to. They have to know all the anatomy of on an individual teeth, which there could be anywhere from 30 different sections that they need to understand. So I have them sketching, but they could use Play-Doh also to carve.
Yeah, that could be
Good.
cool. Love it.
Okay, Brett, I really like your comment. You have to break down and identify the skills. Absolutely. And you know, is it optimum? Is it perfect? In some instances, it's better. And in other instances, it might be a bit subpar. However, it's better than nothing. And we're doing amazing jobs with, I think, a lot of constraints, but terrific stuff.
I'm sorry, one of my colleagues mentioned something that we have issue with also. The school doesn't allow us to have them practice the skills at home because if they're injured themselves, then they're worried about liability and so forth.
Well, but if they do it with Play-Doh or clay, they're not
Or
really.
stuffed animal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Totally. I wouldn't encourage kids into mouths of other people without supervision.
Yeah.
Or animals. Cool. Excellent. Yeah, make like John, like make like screencasts or videos of how I did this on the computer. I love it. Cool. Good stuff, peoples. So we can use Flipgrid as a journal. Tell me what you did today. Tell me how you accomplished that. We can have a watch me do this, like we've been talking about. What if scenarios? What if a person comes to you with this specific problem? What would you do? What if you encountered this problem in the workplace? What would you do? A reflection. Before I learned this, now I know this. Stop motion animation. How to do this. So how do you do this? How do you accomplish this? How do you change the settings on a computer? Can they only reply via videos? So initial posts are only videos, but they can add comments with texts to initial videos, to initial posts. So you could post a video of yourself doing something and ask kids what went wrong, what went right, and have them comment on that video. That could be cool. Or they could respond with a video to that. That's a good idea, Liz. Remember that for next time. All right. All right. Next tool I'm going to show you is Padlet. And Padlet, when I first learned about Padlet, when I first thought about Padlet back in March, I thought, all right, Padlet. And then when I dove into it, I was like, oh, Padlet, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you Padlet, and I'm going to show you we're going to make a timeline on Padlet. So when you get logged into Padlet, it's pretty simple. So you can make 3 Padlets for free, or you could buy a membership. Also, if kids make a Padlet, then you don't own it, and they can make more because you have more kids. So click Make a Padlet, and it asks you what kind of Padlet you want to make. So a wall Padlet is where there's just stuff anywhere. A canvas links with arrows things to one another, so almost like a flow chart. A stream is like your Instagram or Facebook, where you just scroll through a stream. Your grid locks things into certain places on the screen, so it gets locked. A shelf this is what Daniela was talking about, where you can put things in like topics or columns. So this topic is all about A, this topic is all about B, this column is all about C. A back channel chat where people can just chat with each other. A map, so you could pull a map of a place and have kids link a map, which I think is so cool. I think there's so many ideas you could do there. A timeline is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to select timeline, and we are going to make a timeline about how to mix hair dye for our beauticians. So I'm going to title my Padlet over here, steps to mix hair dye. And it has a cute description, but we could change that. Yeah.
Excuse me, Liz. Tiffany asked the question. You can only use 3 Padlets for free, but kids can use multiple.
Right. Yes. So with Padlet, you can put in an icon. And I personally like these icons because they make it easy to see which Padlet you're looking at. So I'm going to choose the icon with the person with purple hair. You can change the background, the color scheme. And then when you post your Padlet, you can decide some attributes. So do you want everyone's name to be on there when they post? Do you want people to be able to leave comments? Do you want people to be able to give likes or upvotes or stars? Or do you want to be able to give a grade? Do you want to filter profanity? Definitely. Do you want to require approval before kids post? So you can choose all of those things. And then your Padlet is ready to make. So once your Padlet is ready, you click on the timeline one, you click the plus, and you start writing out what happens first. The first thing you do is you get a glass or plastic bowl. So you must use a glass or plastic bowl, or else the metal will react with the hair dye. So now that I have my information there, I can add images or videos to this. So I can upload one, I can link to something, or I can search the Google for an image. So I clicked the magnifying glass and it searched my title, glass or plastic bowl, because it's so smart. I'm going to choose that glass or plastic bowl, and it's going to pop right into my timeline. Da-da-da. Amazing. Power of the internet. Then my second step in making hair dye, in mixing hair dye, is to put on gloves. Why? So we don't dye our hands. Okay. And then I'm going to choose a photo by clicking the search box, the magnifying glass for that. And it's going to drop in that photo. Perfect. So I could keep doing that for all the steps of the hair dye and create this beautiful timeline. When I'm ready to share this with students, I can click the share button up top, and I have all these options. Copy the link, get a QR code, embed it, email, Twitter, Facebook, share on Google Classroom. I click that and it opens the box. You can't see it, but it opens the other window to share to which class. It's asking me, share to classroom, choose a class. So Padlet's pretty cool. There's lots of really great things we can do with this. Let me go back to my Padlet and I'll show you some great things that other people have done. But what are some things you think you and your students can do with Padlet? Or we can use Padlet to assess. How could you use Padlet to assess your students?
Tiffany is saying, since you're limited to 3, is it really more for students to use it? Or you can can you create one and then save it and then, onto Google Classroom, and then it's not one of them, or is?
So you could create one, share it on Google Classroom, and have all your students add their own input, right? So, okay, this one is digital technologies to support educational theories. So here I have 3 categories of learning. So a behaviorism approach, a cognitivism approach, and a constructivism approach. 3 different learning theories and teaching theories. This was for another professional development I did. I could, and these are the columns like Daniela was talking about before. Everything under here talks about behaviorism. Everything in this column talks about cognitivism. Everything in this column talks about constructivism. So I could post this for my students and ask them, put information about behaviorism here, put information about cognitivism here, put information about constructivism here. So it could be like a collaborative space for them to work, right?
You can also use like 4 corners, having the columns, and then having students take a side and come up with some ideas and arguments and test evidence eventually why they pick that side. Yeah.
Yep. I love that idea. Totally. So Brett, so the students could create their own timeline like I modeled, totally. Yeah. The same way that I just did, they would create a timeline and build it out. Discuss how-to scenarios, right? So how to do this, what would you do first, second, third, fourth? Beautiful. I was just thinking about the map. Could you post a picture or like a floor plan of a workplace and have them identify all of the parts and tools in that workplace? That could be really cool. So I know we don't work in a dentist office, Anthony, but if they did, I'm thinking you could post a picture of a dental office and say, like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Have them label all the things that are in there using the map feature on Padlet. I think that could be a cool idea. Lots of options with Padlet. Lots of ideas out there. If you just kind of Google around and see what other teachers are doing, there's some really, really great stuff. And it's super easy to use. The kids like it. It's colorful. It's different. Computer science teachers. I have a 5th grade class that I'm working with that's using Padlet to peer check work or help debug. So kids are going onto the Padlet, posting where they're stuck, and other kids are coming and commenting on how to fix it, on how to help fix it. So I just love that collaborative piece of it. And the teacher has done a really good job of rewarding kids who help out, but also kids who post and ask questions for help. So the kids that are asking for help are being rewarded for asking for help. And the kids that are commenting with help are being rewarded also. So you have to do both because you got to get a conversation going.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. 5th graders. So totally doable. Okay, other thoughts on Padlet and what we could do with it? Yes, Tiffany, you can change the settings to know who writes what. All right, so we could do things like fill in the blank. So you could post the prompt at the top and ask them to fill it in. We could do the timeline, a student portfolio. So they can almost use that stream feature to make a portfolio of what they've done back in time. They could give feedback to each other. Classroom bulletin boards are another favorite one of mine, where they post like all the really fun things that they've done, they can do. It could be like your morning meeting check-in, like check the Padlet for today's do now question. And my homemade pierogies one is amazing. Beautiful. All right, my favorite tool, particularly for CTE teachers, is ThingLink. And ThingLink are interactive photos and videos. So this is ThingLink. When you get logged in, I've never had to pay for ThingLink. No one's ever asked me to pay for ThingLink. I don't think they are charging for it. I think it's a Microsoft tool, but you could still use it with Google. And I'll show you. So when you get logged into ThingLink, I'll show you some of these examples in a little bit. But so you click create. This is what you would do if you were making a ThingLink. So this is something you could do or something your students could do. Upload an image. And what we're going to do today is we're going to label the how to frame a window and all the steps in framing a window. So I'm going to upload a picture of a window opening that I saved on my computer, or I could search the internet for, or I could take of my window. And what we do is we add tags to the window, to the image. So I'm gonna click add tag, and I'm gonna add a text label. And my text label, I'm gonna label each part. So like this part of the window frame is called the header. So I'm gonna drop that tag there and say that's the header. I'm gonna change the icon to make it, I don't know, right here. This is the header. Done. Perfect. I'm gonna add another tag, another text label, and say this is the king stud. I'm gonna change the icon again. I'm gonna choose another arrow. Perfect. So this is the king stud. And done. And I'm gonna add another tag and say, this is the trimmer. I've learned so much about framing windows since we've been doing this presentation. And that's the trimmer. You can also add a tag that is media. So I'm gonna add a YouTube video. And the title of the video is How to Frame a Window. So I'm gonna add that. Window. I'm gonna add the YouTube link. So literally just the YouTube link. And I will upload that there. So when I'm done and I see this when it's finished, what's gonna happen is, and I roll over it, it says that's a header. When I roll over it, oh, that's the king stud. When I roll over it, that's the trimmer. Oh, when I click play, it'll take me to my YouTube video on how to frame a window. So it's really amazing what you can do with ThingLink. The possibilities are literally endless. You can also share this. You can embed it. You can publish to social, and you'll see there's Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, all of them. Email, I don't even know what that one is. TAC, you can download it. But lots of things you can do with this once you've created it. You can also create classes in ThingLink where you can put all your students in a class and they can access it. Yeah, so let me show you some of my favorites.
Liz, can you
yes.
answer Tiffany's question? You can also create this and post a picture and the students label it. And
Yes.
therefore you can use it as an assessment of their knowledge.
Yeah.
Is it collaborative? Like do they all label it, or is it one-on-one? That's really my question.
That's a good question. So you can invite students, you can invite groups, you can put them in groups to work here.
So this is more like a group, not a one-on-one kind of thing.
I think it could be either.
Okay.
It probably could be a group, like a group project where each kid is contributing individually to one Padlet, or one ThingLink, or everyone has their own. Right? So you could have 4 pictures where 4 kids are collaborating on each picture, or you could have 24 pictures where each kid is doing their own.
Would I make 24 pictures, or is there a way I can copy and have every kid do individual? Yeah. Or do I have to make 24
copy?
of them?
You could definitely copy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Menu, clone.
Ah, perfect. Thank you.
So this is, I'm going to show you a picture, a video of my friend's classroom. He teaches all the way upstate, but in like the Adirondacks. I don't think there's a limit, Ira. I've never heard of that. So this is my friend's shop class all the way upstate. And what he has is he has all these tags around his room. And what you're seeing is just a panoramic photo that he took. But like you can click on any of these tags and it tells you, you know, this is the measuring, this is where our measuring tools are. This is how you use a caliper. And there's our measuring practice worksheet that you should be doing. And, you know, here's our CNC router. Sorry, here's our CNC router working. Here are some project examples you could choose. You know, here's what our hands-on curriculum looks like and building residential structures. So, you know, here's our planer and how our planer works. But there's lots of things you could do here, right? Want to see an animal one? I'll show you an animal one. So.
And I love that friend of yours used that for parent night, which was really
parent night. Yep. To show like what typically happens in our classroom. What do we typically do? Yeah. So here's another, this is an animal one since someone said something about animals. Tiffany said something about animals. This is one of their examples on ThingLink, but this bird hops by and you can read about it. This is an Eurasian magpie and here's a picture of it. So pretty. And you can read more information about it. And then as it continues, I hear it chirping in my headphones. I don't think you can hear it, but you know, you can click here and you can listen to the songs. I hear it. Some more information, but like how beautiful is that and how simple, you know? Lots of great things you can do with ThingLink. It's definitely becoming a really robust educational tool that you can use. So any thoughts on how you can use ThingLink with your students? Drop them in the chat. Labeling computer parts. Beautiful. Virtual patient room. Tour of a costume shop. Parts ID in a computer. I love it. Surgical instruments. Nice.
great ideas.
Great ideas.
Oh, that's interesting. Before and after.
Yeah, say more about that.
In what area? Before and after.
Do you want me to verbally respond or?
Yeah.
So I work in a costume shop, so I can see where you can show like, here's all the tools and here's the pattern and then here's the costume at the end. Love that. So that you have like, kind of like your timeline, but like it pops out, like how this pops out. I've never heard of this. I'm really excited about ThingLink. I've used the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like these are all the, because, you know, we also collaborate a lot. So it's like, what happens when the, you know, first it starts in the scene shop and it's just wood and then has to go to the paint studio and gets painted and then it goes to the finisher and then it goes to this guy and then goes to the crew and backstage. So it could be something like that. That's like how you pass it off.
I love that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So an important thing that a lot of our kids struggle with is parts of a whole. So what parts make up this final project? So what you're talking about is like, show me the parts and then show me the whole. Or let me show you the whole, you show me the parts. But putting all those pieces together is definitely something that a lot of kids struggle with. Beautiful. Yes.
I also wonder if you can link it to budgeting and scheduling too, like how much time would each of these steps take or how much money, you know.
Oh, that's another ingredient that you could add, obviously. Time on task and cost.
Love it. Beautiful. I love all these ideas. So they're interactive posters. We could label images. We could collect research on here. So like the bird picture, you could like use it as a place to collect your research and collect your information and your links to site sources. You could use it as tutorials for other people. So let me create a tutorial for you on how to use this or where to go when you arrive at your workplace. You can make infographics for your students, or your students can make infographics. I showed you at class tour. All right, some other good stuff we have is virtual simulations. Anyone use virtual simulations in your classes now that work really well?
Packet tracer I use.
Say that again.
The packet tracer from Cisco.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
a good one.
I never used the Cisco Sandbox, but yeah, packet tracer.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the simulations from Next Generation Personal Finance for the CFM, like online banking and depositing checks or all those banking tools that they have.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of really great simulations out there that can help you and your students. Yes, the one from Cornell, the avian anatomy. Yes, that's a good one. All their resources on birds are pretty great. That's so great. Okay, so Minecraft is another great simulation for building and construction. PHET, P-H-E-T, has some great electrical ones to use. The Cisco one, like Daniela mentioned. There's lots of great stuff out there. There's another one with clay that I'm trying to remember what it was called, but I can't remember. Some clay with human body parts. And there's a paper one I discovered recently too. There's so much cool stuff out there. If we just had time to research the internet forever, find all the amazing things. All right, Marcia, you want to make a zine?
Sure. We have about 5 minutes left. Before we do this, though, do you have any other questions for either Liz or me about assessment of the applications that we've been using? Personal emails. What do you mean, Tiffany?
Good question.
Just in case we have any questions, like
Sure.
yeah, email you at.
Yes.
We'll drop them in the chat.
Yeah,
and we'll show them later.
At the end, there are our emails.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a really quick, easy tool that you can use for anything. For assessment, you could use it for notes in your next session. You need just a piece of paper. I did a lot of bookmaking in my classes, and this is just one piece of paper. And I always say that the key to bookmaking is crispy creases. So you're going to take a piece of paper and fold it in half, the hamburger way, and make sure that your creases are crispy. Then again, and then again. So you have, and I'm doing it as I'm telling you, and I have a piece of cardboard here, so it's okay. So you wind up with 8 rectangles. By the way, I used to do this with my own personal kids. For every single trip, vacation we took, I told them there were no free rides in this world. You have to make a book about it. So you have 8 rectangles. Then you folded that hamburger way again. And if you have a pair of scissors handy, cut from the folded edge to the midpoint along that center line. Just one cut that gives you what I used to say is a big mouth. Okay. And then you fold it the hot dog way and squeeze the mouth open and fold it along those edges, and you have an 8-page book.
That's the tricky part. I'll show you again. So you fold it long edge to long edge after you've made that cut. Yeah. And then you squeeze it together. You can't do it wrong, but it's tricky.
And then you
Just
fold
squeeze
it.
and fold over. Just squeeze and fold over. Just
And
squeeze and
you can
fold
make
over.
these books about any topic. Use them as a review at the end of a chapter. The bigger the piece of paper, obviously, the bigger the book. So there's lots of applications. Liza, you got it right. Fold it
Fold
the
it in
hot
half.
dog way and then squeeze it. This is one of my favorite books, and I actually had in one class had the kids write stories on these and then put them in, you know, the cereal boxes that have the individual cereal boxes cut off the edge, put them in there and they could write a series. So they could have it on each chapter or each unit or each skill. Kids love making these, and you can do it about anything or any topic.
The other really cool thing about these are that when you write on all these pages and then you open it up, all of your work is on one side of the paper. So you could photocopy it, you could take a picture of it, and it makes it really helpful for seeing what kids are doing.
Yes.
We do this first grade through adults. There's no age limit on these. They're pretty awesome. I have literally a pile of them on my desk.
And kids I've found that, you know, using this as a review before a unit exam, kids could study from this rather than reams of paper that they go through that they aren't so excited about reading. So this is really a good way. And by the way, you can have graphics as well.
Yeah, totally. So lots of other ideas for assessment, creating a handbook, step-by-step guides, recommendations for a client. What would you tell a client to do? Go do research and find the parts and supplies that you're going to need. Keep a budget, keep a log, review an annual report, interview a business owner, create a newsletter, do a social media campaign, do a video record if you're doing something, take before and after photos. What did it look like before? What did it look like after I did some work on it? Do work for a family member, get a review, draw schematics, label a picture, create scenarios, work with client stories, watch a video, leave comments. Lots of things we can get our kids to do, even if they're remote for learning.
One of the other ideas going along with client stories or client problems, if you have an advisory board, you can ask your advisory board members to share actual problems that they have in their businesses, and then ask the kids to solve those problems or provide input on how to solve them. And that can be an assessment of how they know the material and how to problem solve. And you can have them actually go back to the client or the advisory board member and actually give their solutions.
Awesome. So some other tools for assessment. I saw you mentioned some of these at the beginning. Kahoot, it's another quiz-like one. Loop is actually student feedback, private student feedback or group feedback. So it's like a back channel chat for kids to be talking and asking questions on. Buncee is another great one. Book Creator is a digital book creating tool where kids can make books online. Making comics. Deck Toys is like a fun assessment that's been video gamified, that's the word I'm looking for, gamified. Ed Puzzle, where they watch videos and answer questions throughout. Quizaliz is another quiz one. Nearpod, I know a lot of teachers love Nearpod also. So we are out of time, but here is our information. If you need anything from us, you can reach me, Liz Gallo at ymaker.co. You can text me also, and I send teacher tips every week. Here's Marsha's email address. And once again, if you want the guide for this assessment workshop, I will drop it in the chat. And thank you so much for today. You're amazing. You are doing so great. I'm so proud of you. Hopefully you get to take a nice walk in the snow or stay inside and not go anywhere.
It was our pleasure to work with you, and I may see you again in the next session. But thank you, Liz. You are always totally amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Marsha.